Hey, Niels Mahoney here from On Air Coach, chatting with presenters and entertainers from around the world. And our next man happens to be two of those things. He's an entertainer and he's in the world. So that's 2 out of 3, ain't bad. It's Dean Friedman. Hello, Dean.
Hey, Niels. How you doing? Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Do you ever get tired of being called singer-songwriter Dean Friedman, as if that's your name? Or is that okay?
You know, I ascribe to that expression my mom taught me, which is you can call me anything but late for dinner.
Like, I ain't even late for that. When I was a young pup of a DJ, they changed my name, and someone said, "Why did they give you that stupid Niels Mahoney name?" So they can call me anything if they pay me. Once they pay me at the end of the month, I don't care what they call me. It's all right. How are things going for you? You're in New York City at the moment. Are you outside New York?
Well, I live upstate New York, about an hour north of Manhattan. In a place called Peekskill. It's near the Hudson River. It's the foothills of the Catskill Mountain Ranges.
That sounds
So
delightful.
it gets a little hilly, not too mountainous, but it's a pretty part of the world. And
now, the obvious question we used to always say to people when you meet them first, how's the weather there? Now what you say is, how are you coping? That's always the question now.
Well, climbing the walls a little bit, but you know, spring has sprung in spite of everything. And so, you know, we're sort of doing our best. Trying not to climb the walls too much. I've been using my time working on a new online streaming show called Dean Zine live stream, because I had a UK Ireland tour booked that I would have left for today.
Yeah.
That would have been on a plane going to Belfast and then to Dublin. But that's been rescheduled for next year. As a result, you know, I find myself sort of here trying to figure out
what do I do
how to
now?
make use of all this time, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been doing it every Sunday. I've been doing this show, inviting my friends, like you're doing here, inviting guests, talking about what's going on and singing songs and just entertaining folks. And
is that your big audience? Is Ireland, UK? Because you spend a lot of time touring, or you put a lot of attention into that part of the world anyway. Is that a big audience for you? Is that one of your big ones?
Well, curiously enough, even though I sold as many records in my own country, America, as I did in Ireland and the UK, I've always enjoyed sort of a slightly higher media profile across the pond.
Yeah.
So I tour once a year. Except for so far this year, and I spend you know about 10 weeks doing concerts in Ireland and the United Kingdom, and it's always a treat. You know, I miss home, getting away for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to connect with what's always an enthusiastic and loyal audience.
You know what? You can solve a long problem I've had. And you're going to laugh at this one, right? I wrote a book about 10 years ago, did nothing with it, right? It's still sitting on the computer. You know, everybody's written a book, right? So mine's still there, but you appear in it for a very short
really?
Let me tell you why. When I was slightly younger than I am now, there was a TV show on a Saturday morning in the UK called Swap Shop. And the host was
I do recall.
Yeah, Noel Edmonds, right? Okay, so you're on the couch chatting with Noel Edmonds. And Noel Edmonds says, "So Dean, singer-songwriter, where do you come up with how do you get everything to rhyme if you're going to rhyme?" And you said, "No, here's a secret I haven't told anyone before. We have a rhyming dictionary."
You got it.
I was like, "Oh," and I wanted one of those. And I gotta get a. Do they exist?
Oh, not only do they exist, but they're also now online. So anywhere you are, if you have a smartphone or a laptop or a desktop, if you're in search of a rhyme, all you have to do is, you know, type in the word and the word rhyme after that. And a number of rhyming dictionaries will pop up to give you rhymes or synonyms or antonyms or definitions.
I couldn't believe such a thing existed. I couldn't believe it existed.
Well, you know what? If you're a carpenter, you go around with a tool belt and a hammer and a wrench and nails. And if you're a songwriter, you don't go around without your tools. You know, your tools include the two ears that you have, but also all the words in the world, and those resources like dictionaries and rhyming dictionaries, thesaurus or thesauri. those are
Yeah.
critical tools to any writer.
Well, that's
And I
the
highly
thing.
recommend them.
I thought to myself, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I want to find one. Back then, you couldn't find them in stores. You just couldn't find them. But now everything's easy now, right? It's all online now, is it? Just go online and you'll find one. It's all there. It's gonna okay.
I still like
it's
my
great.
old physical rhyming dictionary because it's all kind of dog-eared and I get to thumb through it. And
There's a history to that, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Are you listening to stuff these days? And what excites you musically, or who excites you, or of anybody?
Well, you know what? I have always had a fondness and affinity for singer-songwriters who tell stories and paint pictures with their words and music. I grew up listening to people like Joni Mitchell and Randy Newman and Paul Simon. Uh, those were the kind of songs I aspired to write when I was starting out, and still to this day. And so there are plenty of artists that are doing that these days. A lot of folks that I work with and I'm fans of in the UK, folks like Boothby Graffo and Tracy Curtis, both of who appeared on my Dean Zine live stream.
There you go.
Which you can find on my website, deanfriedman.com.
Good man.
And there's just so many, one thing about the internet is that it gives access to so much talent that normally does not get heard.
I think that's, you hit it right there, because you hear a lot of people who are getting older say, it's been said in every generation, music these days, it's not like it was in my day. But if you look hard enough, you'll find everybody's still creating. We're still human beings. We still create in the same way. It's just, you got to go look for it a bit harder now, maybe. That's it, is it?
And it's definitely out there. I really, I prefer a song that was written by someone that's so idiosyncratic that that's the only person that could have written that song.
Yeah.
As opposed to, your homogenized pop songs. And you don't have to search that far. There are plenty of venues where you can find great songs.
Is it hard
online?
When you're starting out and you have this philosophy of how you want to be? You want to write songs, tell stories. Is it hard at first? Because when you succeed, everybody looks at you and goes, "Oh yeah, the guy's on TV. He's done. He sold records. He's fine." But when you're starting out, you really have to hold your principles to your soul, don't you?
Well, you know what? It's a challenge starting out, and it's always a challenge. It remains a challenge. And some of it is just circumstance, but some of it is just sort of sticking to your guns.
Yeah.
And trying to find your own voice, and trying to say what you mean and mean what you say.
I guess you can use that in any form, really, can't you? Like, we talk to radio people a lot, and you can do the same thing. If you're on air speaking, be yourself as much as you can and have something to say. And it all translates, isn't it? It's kind of voice in a way.
Well, absolutely. Yes. And voice in both respects, your actual voice and
that's right. Your inner voice
that you bring
out.
To it.
Yeah. And we're always attracted to people who are honest and tell their truth, as they say. I think so, anyway.
Well, I think that when you're truthful about what you believe, that comes out, and people recognize that, and it will strike a chord in their own lives, because our lives are not all so different. We worry about a lot of the same things.
Have you ever tried to do the other style, the just kind of cookie cutter music? Have you ever tried that? You ever tried to write, I'm going to write a hit, I'm going to write a top 40 hit on purpose?
Well, I never really sat down to write a top 40 hit. However, I'm a huge fan of pop music.
Yeah, same here.
I like all kinds of music, rock, folk, pop, jazz, classical, you name it. So when I sit down to write, I'm not necessarily thinking in those terms. I'm just trying to tell a particular story.
Yeah.
But as I look back at my albums, there's always one or two of what I would consider, a pure pop song on each of those albums. Sometimes they get heard, and sometimes they don't. But they're there, along with all the other stuff. I've always been accused of being a little too eclectic, because my albums always have, pretty broad gamut of, like I said, jazz, rock, folk, pop, a little bit of everything.
I guess, as you say, only you could have written them, so there's no point in putting anything else out if only you could have written them and sung them.
Yeah, anytime I've been lazy and tried to write something that sounds like everything else, it sounds like everything else.
Yeah, funny how that works, eh? Yeah. So once again, where can we find you then? Once a week. Give us the stream again.
Well, once a week I'm doing a live stream. It's called Dean Zine Live Stream, and you can find it on, the links are on my website, which is deanfriedman.com. That's DEANFRIEDMAN.com. And you'll find links to Dean Zine's live stream, and every Sunday, and different parts of the world. It's 8 p.m. in the UK and Ireland. It's 3 p.m. in New York. It's 12 noon in Los Angeles. It's 9 a.m. in the morning on Sunday.
God, you're getting about.
In Hawaii. Now, you have to tell me what time it is in Malta.
1 hour further on. So what's that? So it's 6 p.m. 6 p.m. here, yeah.
Okay, so, or no,
maybe.
Right?
What time? Yeah.
It'll be 9 p.m. Yeah, 8 p.m. in the UK.
Oh, then 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And it's easy to find. It's on Facebook and YouTube. We have a lot of fun and introducing a lot of my favorite songwriters and performers, and it's a ramshackled slipshod production.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah, I know that feeling. Dean Friedman, it's been a real joy. Thanks for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you over this side of the world when everything calms down and sort of returns to sort of normality, whatever that is.
I look forward to it, Niels. Thanks for having me. Be well, and I'll catch you down the line.